Okay. I'm going to call to reconvene the regular town council meeting or Wednesday, March 17, 2021, reconvene at 6:23 p.m. I'd like to have a motion to reconsider and amend the agenda. Do we have a motion to reconsider the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Mayor, to amend it to add.
Oh, to amend it to add, I thought that was gonna be a separate motion, but I'll do it all in one. Okay.
You can.
Motion to reconsider and amend the agenda to add, we're 16, which is recess, make that 17, and right before that, when we come out of our closed meeting, to add action on closed meeting items. Okay. Do I have a motion to reconsider and amend the agenda?
So moved.
The second?
Second.
Okay.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All right, welcome back, everybody. Sorry for the delay. I apologize. We have been in closed session since 4, so we are running a little bit behind, but that's okay. I'd like to take a moment of silence, and as we do so, to consider the year mark that we have right now as COVID hit us a year ago today, and the struggle that everybody in the community has been going through with that is in some way affected every single one of us in one way or another, and many of us in very serious ways. So in this moment of silence, just please think about that. The Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, I have approval of the minutes for the January 20th, 21 regular meeting.
I move for approval of the minutes.
Second.
Any discussion? None? Okay.
Aye.
Ms. Sullivan, Mr. Allison,
Aye.
Mr. Gator,
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Duggan, yep, aye. And Chair votes aye. Next up is council member announcements. And I think this is a fitting time to introduce our newest member of town council, Mr. Kenneth Allison. Thank you very much for coming on board with us. We appreciate it. We had a lot of interest in the position, and filling Mr. I's spot is not an easy one. He was a valued member of our town council. So we really appreciate your service in stepping up and working with you together here. So I just wanted to take a moment and recognize that.
Thank you.
And going with announcements, we'll start down at this end.
Nothing tonight.
Mr. Reinke?
Mike and I met with the Deputy Director and Operations Manager for Public Works on the 8th. And it is our observation that operational maintenance problems and issues have been adequately identified and that appropriate solutions either have been or are being implemented. This includes the forthcoming electronic CityWorks program, which should greatly facilitate the management of operations and maintenance. We also discussed at length personnel and other funding issues and anticipate that specific recommendations will be submitted for our consideration.
Thank you. Ms. Rand?
I attended the school board meeting last Wednesday night, the 10th, and they are having a special meeting on March 22nd at 5 to approve their budget. They talked about it extensively. School budgets are mandated to be approved by the end of March, so that's why we'll have it as soon as we will. Just a little side note to that. For the last 6 years, the town's portion to the school system has been the same amount of money, so they are asking for a little bit more. Spring sports were approved. This was an in-depth discussion which entailed the ramifications of having sports at this time, but they decided to go with the sports one, and it was unbelievable what they are going to do for the children to be able to, the students to be able to play the sports that they are. So, and they're starting with baseball. And I want to thank them for our sweatshirts that we received. And on another note, I got a lot of compliments on the newsletter that we sent out. It was very, very well received. And lastly, to give kudos to the volunteers at the clinic, because it has just been an amazing task to take on. Everything flowed so smoothly. I even got my car backed up because I don't back up extremely well. So I thought that was great that I had a little help from a friend there. Everything just went so well, so smoothly, and it's just because everyone worked so well together. So kudos. It was wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Katie?
But yeah, after that, I mean, one of the big things about the vaccine clinic is that we've had assistance from the Dahlgren folks, sailors and airmen there the last couple of weeks. So they've been hugely helpful in that. And I got an update from Lance today. They ran the clinic today. And as of this afternoon, the clinic has issued 1,236 vaccines. So that's shots in arms, and 396 people have received their second dose. So what Three Rivers sees as the clinic operating here in Colonial Beach is that it's a success, and Three Rivers fully intends to continue to support that. At least that was my conversation down in Warsaw with the clinic director on Tuesday, that they see this as a success place up here. So I think we'll continue to see the flow of vaccinations, at least to the Guadalupe Clinic.
Mr. Allison, I know you're new and you have not even been assigned as committees yet. So if you have any introduction or words, you're welcome to speak.
I just want to take the opportunity to thank everybody and look forward to the opportunity.
Ms. Sullivan?
Hi, continue to work as the NGO liaison, and I just can't say enough about all of the nonprofits in this town and all of the work that they do. They are such a valuable component to our town's success.
Okay, I have a couple things to update people on. The RAFT group continues to meet. That's a resiliency adaptation feasibility tool, and that is the coalition of educational partners, state partners, and other regional agencies for coastal resilience and town resilience overall. We are going to form some kind of citizen joint committee that when this RAFT initiative, as the program starts to end, that we still continue on with the resiliency efforts past that. And so we're looking at what does the structure of that look like? How does that operate? And so we'll have more to update on that probably in April as we continue that conversation. We also have started a discussion about how to start to tackle the spring season and summer season with events, and we have a meeting with the chamber scheduled on Friday. We do have to follow the governor's orders, and so there are many considerations as we move forward through that. There was also a meeting about parking, the meters downtown, and so, and we invited local business owners, Rocky Denson, Ms. Vaughn, and people that had, a stake in the area down here, concerns, also, what kind of problems they experience by not having control over parking and where can we benefit from that. I think lots of good ideas came out of that meeting, including, like a coupon code or something that businesses can hand to people that spend money with them to help them give time off the meter. We're looking into some of the logistics of that, and how to support street parking for walkability downtown versus people parking in front of these businesses to go to the beach and not actually spending money at their business. So, and there are ways to kind of gear these parking areas towards whether you're going for all day, which is our beachgoer, versus coming in for dinner or stopping to shop or things like that. So we're looking at ways to do that, implement that. Also attended the Board of Supervisors meeting, and Mr. Tribbett is here to speak on that. Also attended the clinic at the tail end to, get my t-shirt from Captain Copeland. We have been fostering a very good relationship with the base and continue to support each other, and I'm so glad that there's been sending volunteers to our clinic here to help out. That's been fantastic. And I have a meeting with the school board to discuss their budget next week. And I just also want to report that I got a lot of citizen concerns about the booms from Dahlgren. They are testing right now up until April 1st. We will continue to have a high level of action with the Dahlgren Testing Center. So just so that everybody's aware and understands, up until April 1st, they are in the middle of testing some things that you're going to continue to hear until that point. And they also have a liaison and point of contact, so if you have any concerns about that, I'm happy to get you in touch with them. Okay, that's all I have. Mr. Tribbett?
Madam Mayor, Town Council, good to see you. I can tell you those booms aren't as loud as them 16-inch guns were when I was a kid, but they are rocking something over there. There's no doubt about that on a regular basis. So we're all used to it. Those have lived here for many, many years. So, but a lot of people aren't and don't even know what it is. The last board meeting, and I wanted to speak about what Mr. Mike said there about the shots. I wish they would. Next Thursday it's in Richmond County. For the Westmoreland County employees, and I don't know whether town employees will be involved in that or not. But for the second dose, I know we've got to go down there somewhere in Richmond County. So it'd be nice if it was all up in this end of the county or somewhere closer for those people that don't have transportation and can't make that travel. But they've gotten better, and I think you're absolutely right. The clinic is doing outstanding. Nothing but positive things to hear about that. I talked to you, Madam Mayor, got in touch with you about the YMCA. A lot of you may not even know the Westmoreland County has a YMCA. It's kind of tucked away at A.T. Johnson School down in Montrose. They're looking at them to take over the rec park. The new rec park will be finished soon. The lights will be installed. That's down there behind the new high school. And I'm not so sure that Colonial Beach is going to gain anything from any of that. That they're going to use that. The Little League may use it. The vision is that now that they'll be able to use that facility to host Little League games because it will be lighted and it'll be multiple fields. And any of you that's had children in the Little League realm there knows that, it'll be a facility like Richmond County has where they'll bring those tournaments now to the county. So it'll be advantageous for that. But the county administrators was contacted back in early March, which hadn't been that long ago, and asked for volunteers for the county family YMCA. He was contacted by them. They were trying to form a volunteer counsel for the YMCA to try to get an overall picture of what's needed in the county and what can be involved. I was provided, the list of names for our Parks and Recreation Advisory Commission, who we know there's 4 people on that. I don't think any of those have been contacted yet, but hopefully they will agree to serve. I don't know all the details. I know I hadn't talked to Steve, but I know he's here tonight. But that's something that's in the works. They're asking for 3 people from each district. And hopefully to get a wide range of just input. But it seems like that most things are happening down that way. But I'll tell you that I've been involved in at least 3 meetings with the CEO of the YMCA in Fredericksburg. We've met down here on more than one occasion. We've met with a couple individuals that could possibly be major donors for us to build a YMCA right down here in this area. Even the town manager met with us at one time, and we had a lengthy meeting to discuss that. It's really this kind of sparking my interest again, because I've always thought it'd be a great place to put one down here. I know the King George one's only about 12 miles away, but I think as we do some of these developments that we may be able to support that. And I think it would be a great thing. We've looked at figures, what it would cost, the size of it. There's several things that we've looked at. But it's never really got off the drawing board or taken that next step. So I'm hoping as soon as some of this COVID stuff gets behind us, Madam Mayor, that you and I, who are the new town manager, and anyone else that wants to be involved, hopefully the advisory commission with the Parks and Recs, that we can meet again, just to discuss where we were before it kind of got put in the back of our minds again. But it is something to let you know that it's something we've been looking at for quite a while now, and hopefully one day. It's just a vision, just like the new school. You got to start somewhere, and that came to be. And hopefully one day this YMCA will. We have some major people coming to this area. We have some new business owners in this area that may want to be major contributors and can afford to do that. So that's something I think that I would really hope that we would all look at and possibly pursue in the near future. At the last meeting, we talked about a regional group to do for the cigarette tax. Colonial Beach wouldn't be involved in that because they already have their cigarette tax. King George kind of spearheaded that, and I think once they found out, how the percentages were going to go and everything, they backed out. So, which, they probably have 2 facilities on 301 that sells more cigarettes than the whole northern neck. So, so I can see where that came from, but if that's what occurred, but they're still planning on working with Richmond County, Northumberland. The only way I can see that would help Colonial Beach is now maybe some of our residents won't go to Hall Store and other places and buy cigarettes because they'll have the same tax that Colonial Beach will. So maybe they'll buy them in town if they're still doing that. The other thing that kind of will impact all of us is the vehicle valuations for 2021. Normally, we see vehicles depreciate because of manufacturing shutting down and the need for new cars. We've been told that that's not going to happen, that those valuations are going to go up this year possibly rather than go down. So that means that you'll get a little bit higher bill, and your vehicle will be valued at more than what you thought it probably would have been valued at. And we've actually gotten numerous calls supervisors have about, the tax increases and for personal property as well as real estate. So, I anticipate seeing a whole lot more of that and a whole lot more complaints when it comes to that. Is there anything that anybody's got that you'd like to ask me tonight, or that I can assist you with? I don't know if any of y'all got caught up in the mess a couple weeks ago at the drag strip, but that was quite a nightmare. I guess we're thankful, even though I know the police got involved in it here, I think, because I heard it on the radio. I think we're at the shopping center where some people did gather, but there was as many as 350 cars in the parking lot at Hall Store and the Stop and Shop. And there was numerous police chases. It really was chaos there for several hours. So we're addressing that. We hope to meet with the guy that owns that. I don't think it had much of an impact maybe on the beach itself, but the potential was there for it to be really bad. Law enforcement was way outnumbered. and it affected all the surrounding counties. It was several thousand people that came here for that event, and with no notification or anything, so, but I don't think it probably impacted the town as bad as it did the county, so. But any questions about anything, or?
Just to follow up from that conversation that really took over the meeting about the drag strip and the mass of people that showed up, was a starting point in our conversation here in town about how to handle events, what our expectations should be this coming season, and how to do that safely and securely, not just because of the COVID situation, but because when there are no other events happening and you have an event, it is going to be 10 times the size. And are you prepared for that? Is that reasonable? Do you have, there's a lot of safety concerns along with that too. And that stemmed a lot from the conversation that you all had at the Board of Supervisors level about what happened at the drag strip. And so, just being in the audience of that meeting and seeing the concerns that a lot of citizens showed up for that particular issue because it was very disruptive. And I just think it's something to highlight because it was indicative of a very busy season that's coming our way. And that when there's not a lot to do, that a lot of people show up. And I think there's some consideration in the safety of that and control and coordination and how communication on these things really is important because it seems like lack of communication between the event holder and, the police department and things like that were highlighted in the discussion as well. So we want to get ahead of that, not behind it.
And I think that's a great idea. I don't know that the promoter had any idea that many people would come. I know there was people out there as far as from Texas, and many came from 3 or 4 hours away. And I mean, the sheriff's office was overwhelmed. They had everybody on duty. They had numerous state police respond, but it didn't matter how many law enforcement you had. It was just too many people. I guess the good thing is that nothing seriously happened where they needed fire rescue because all the people living on the drag strip there, they couldn't go anywhere. It was completely blocked up both directions, all the way from this end of Longfield to this end of Longfield, all the way to Stop and Shop, all the way to Hall Store, all the back roads. It was pretty serious. And, and like we talked about, for the Bike Fest, they plan for that a whole year. They have meetings just about every week for the Bike Fest. And I mean, this was something that was just enormous. It had no planning, no notification or anything. So I think you're going to see it. I'll be very surprised if we don't see more people in town this year than we've ever seen. That's what I think, just because people are ready to get out and go somewhere, doesn't matter whether it's an hour or 2 hours, they just want to be somewhere. And I think we're going to see a huge influx of people.
Yeah.
It'll be great for our business, but I just hope we can handle it.
Yeah, well, even the businesses sometimes struggle when they're overwhelmed by these things because they create chaotic situations in other ways too. So if you're a business owner and you end up dealing with somebody who blocked your entranceway or, threw trash in your, yard or things that are disruptive to your business, then it's not, so there's got to be balance and preparation for them to help business as well.
So no questions from anybody? Thank you.
Thank you. Police department update?
Good evening, council. Appreciate the opportunity tonight. The report that you have in front of you is the yearly statistics report and agency activities for the PD from January 1st, 2020, all the way through December 31st, 2020. Just to kind of summarize it, the first 6 pages of the report, and it's fairly self-explanatory. On the left side, you'll see the call types. Those are all of the different types of calls that our officers responded to not only last year, but, every single day. Where, at the very top where it says CFS total, CFS stands for calls for service. Okay, so that's when dispatch contacts one of the officers, hey, respond to someplace, whatever. Okay, so that's what CFS means, call for service. Next to that, where it says unit total, unit meaning how many patrol units actually responded to the particular call. And as you go across there, you can see they actually do a percentage, minimum, maximum time, average, total time. And these are, we get these every month, but this is just a yearly accumulation of all the calls. So on page 6, under CFS totals, we actually had 4,801 total calls for 2020 and 7,054 patrol units actually that had responded to the calls. And over on the right side, it has the average time and also the total time for all the calls for service for last year. As you can see, it's a lot of different calls that the officers respond to. It's a variety, including a lot of medical stuff that our people respond to every day. On the next 2 sheets, it's titled Incident Case Status Totals by Offense. Okay, next 2 pages, incident case status totals by offense. Again, on the left-hand side, you'll see all the different criminal offenses that our officers responded to, investigated. And if you just carry over, like I said, it's pretty self-explanatory. It shows you how many active cases we currently have, inactive cases, cases that were closed by arrest, how many adults were arrested, juveniles arrested. Over the last 2 RP TED reported, the total numbers reported, and again, the actual, the amount of actual calls that were reported for the various offenses. And for 2020, we had a total of 109 incident cases, or excuse me, we actually had, 420 incident case totals for last year. And that can be found on page 2 at the very end. The last page will show all the arrests and the various offenses for the arrests for 2020. We had a total of 116 arrests last year, and all the primary offenses for those arrests are listed. And it has a breakdown. You can go across the board and kind of see the breakdown on that, but 116 total arrests for last year. And we do this report every year, and we submit it to the mayor and also the town manager for their review. And that's a summary report for last year.
It doesn't compare anything from last year to the year before. You think there were certain effects from COVID and people being shut in?
We did have a little bit of uptick probably in violent crimes. I think we had two murders last year, which was a little bit of an uptick. We did see an uptick in domestic situations alcohol-related things, which, to be honest with you, we thought it would be a lot worse with people being cooped up, and just the whole entire nature of last year was pretty crazy. But actually, I think by and large, the town did very well. A slight uptick in certain things, but I think other than that, it was a pretty good year for us, considering what we went through with COVID and everybody being locked down, the unemployment and everything. So we think it was pretty successful.
Any questions? Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
you.
All right. Citizen input. First up for citizen input is Walter.
I'm gonna give you a history lesson. Back in 1955, when I attended Colonial Beach School, we never missed a day of school the whole time. When up to high school, and we always walked to high school, including elementary. We always walked. When I graduated, we had a class of 17 students. 5 of us were first cousins. Now, I moved off in the 8th grade and the 10th. And I went to summer school for 2 years. I was never a junior in high school because of that mistake. And so that was my lesson in life, that do I regret that? No, I don't. But, you know, that's part of life. And that's my conclusion of life in the history.
Thank you, Walter.
Thank you, Walter.
Okay, next up, Lisette.
Okay, this is a hodgepodge of stuff today. Nothing right. The first thing to the police officer, thank you. That was a good response to our social media posting on February the 20th. However, it's still correct. The percentage of increase very close. We went from 149 to 494. Is the number you said? 194? So it's a huge increase. We need to pay attention to the police and what's happening. That's my take on that. Now, with that being said, the Castlewood, I think you need more people, sir. And I think they need to be better paid. This is not a reflection on you or anything, don't get me wrong. We actually, when we did the priorities, we have submitted for a review of your salaries or your people's salaries and retention incentives. They didn't pass, but We submitted that. Anyway, beyond the point side. Castlewood Mayor, are we meeting Friday?
We are.
Tell me the time, we will be there.
I think it's at 1:30.
Perfect, thank you. I am very, very glad that the foundation decided to stay with the community center. That was our purpose, that the community center stay for the people of Colonial Beach. That's a piece of history of Colonial Beach. It represents collaboration at its best. I just hope that the foundation continue taking care of the place, but also that improve it and add additional amenities. With that being said, still the right of first refusal is in play, so please give us a response to that. And the fountain, everybody knows, we're waiting a response on the fountain. And finally, I'm missing something. And I don't know, I forgot something, I'm missing something, but thank you, police, for
Yes, ma'am, you will.
doing that. And thank you, Mr. Green, for the YMCA. I was talking to Eric about the alternative, and that's a fantastic one. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sherry Hutchins?
Good evening. I just have a few things. First of all, recycling at the beach. Those big ugly things that they use. I was wondering, why can't we do like a lot of other towns where we have a trash can and a recycle can and they come and pick it up? My parents live in a very, very small community. They have regular trash pickup on Thursday, every Thursday, and every other Thursday they have trash and recycle. I would recycle if I had a can right there at my house where I could do it. It's an inconvenience for me to have to drag it all up. We want to try to increase the beauty of our town, and those big bins where they're located are just totally disgusting, but that's beside the point. I was wondering if that could be looked into. Also, I'm not a fan of social media because nowadays it's all about bullying and being mean and ugly to other people. This committee or this group, they sort of do check and balances on what you all propose or try to do. They're not negative. They research it beyond what any other citizens have been able to do. They put a post on, and I'm going to give the name, Nextdoor. They're immediately bullied, threatened. And the people continue to do it, and whoever's in charge of that doesn't seem to mind if those people do this to other people. When other people put opinions on, then that the group doesn't like, they're immediately censored and removed from Nextdoor. And I think that needs to start being done with people that are bullying other people. They're not calling anybody names. They are just looking, researching, stating facts. I'm sorry if the people at Nextdoor don't like these facts. Maybe they should come to a meeting and see what's going on instead of being nasty on Nextdoor or some of the other social media platforms. We need to figure out how we can get information to everyone in our town. This is sad. I know it's COVID, but look how many empty seats are here. Maybe you all need to go and visit with your citizens. Do a little, hey, Tuesday, I'm going to be out on First Street, or Wednesday, I'm going to be out at the Meadows. Just maybe you all need to make yourselves more visible to the citizens and say, hey, this is what we have planned. What do you think about it? Because I don't think you all are getting very many citizens, the whole citizens. I think you have a small group. And I really hate to say this, but a lot of them have that
Okay, your
blue,
3 minutes is up. Thank
blue
you.
sign. Thank you.
Okay, I don't have anybody else signed up. Citizen input? No? Next up, unfinished new business, liaison assignments. As you know, we have our newest town council member, Mr. Allison, and his kind of default assignment, because of the vacancy of Mr. I, would be in what is it called? Safety and EMS. It's the police department, the fire department, the rescue squad, public safety. Thank you. I just had a brain moment. So in public safety, however, after bringing him on board and having his resume and his background with really systems architecture of how places work within the framework of the organization, that's a lot of what we're tackling in public works right now. It also involves a lot of technology, which Mr. Allison is also geared towards in his career. Mr. Montier brings quite a bit of background to public safety and has a lot of experience in EMS and in his career. And so I'm actually going to propose that we switch the liaison positions to be best suited towards the assets that we currently have on council, also with their blessing and their request. So do I have a consensus on council to appoint Mr. Allison to Public Works and Mr. Montour to Public Safety? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Excellent. Okay. Done. And also, Parks and Rec, Mr. Allison will be the liaison to the Parks and Rec committee. Yes. All right, timeline and update on the central drainage area. Ms. Murphy?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The central drainage area, and I don't know if everyone knows what that area is, but it is the central drainage area for our wastewater collection system. And the central is actually related to the downtown area here, all the way to almost First Street. Also all the way out to Route 205 on this side. It is a large area, and there's been some during excessive rains and for long periods, and I think you may have noticed that there is a significant amount of inflow and infiltration that appears mostly as water. But we're trying to identify and have contracted with Dewberry Davis to identify the needs in that area. It is a big system. So we've been collecting data for some time and transferring such to Dewberry and Davis in relation to GIS mapping. And as most of you know, we've been developing the GIS maps over the past several months. Certainly not complete yet, but those relating to this sewer area have been created and transferred to Dewberry. Also, we've been actually doing significant work in identifying direction of flow in the system, which of course is critical in them realizing what they're working with. So that's been collected and transferred. We still have some inverts. If you know what inverts are, they're the elevation that the wastewater lines are below ground. We're working that. We anticipate over the next couple to 3 weeks, we should be able to get to the last of those. At least there are multiple manholes in the area, and you have to actually test each one of them to see with all that said, their time frame is 6 weeks after receipt of this information that they anticipate having the letter of recommendations of what to do with the system beyond that. You should keep in mind also that the development projections are also being added into this mix so that they can calculate the anticipated flow increases and include them in the projections. So we just got the first set of preliminary drawings from Dodson in relation to the parcel beside 315 Douglas. So that too has been transferred to Dewberry for review.
When is the schedule for Dewberry to be here then?
4 weeks to get them actually working on the model that they're creating with this data. That's
And a solution implementation, do we have?
6 weeks subsequent.
So 10 weeks.
So we're looking at 10 to 12 weeks.
Okay. Any questions? Does everybody out there understand what we're talking about? Does anybody understand what we're talking about? The central drainage area is the sewer system down Colonial Avenue that had the issues last year. That's what we're getting updates on, the engineering process for that and the solution being engineered and then implementation of it.
Awesome.
And sometimes that verbiage is a little,
I apologize.
no, it's just not all that exciting sometimes.
No, it's not.
Okay. Any other questions on update on the drainage area? No. All right. Next up, jet truck and the USDA application. Mr. Murphy, you want to walk us through that?
Yes, ma'am. We did complete an application for a replacement jet truck. If it's all right with council, I'll go into the reason for replacements and at least our thinking. We had a catastrophic failure of the motor of the jet truck. But first, I'd like to explain, before I go into that, I'd like to explain the jet truck. Is a lot of folks picture the jet truck as a piece of equipment that just clears sewer lines and, like a snake. It is a highly complex piece of equipment. It has multiple systems. Not only does it clear stoppages for wastewater and stormwater lines, it also is a hydro excavator, which many folks may not know what hydro excavation is, or they may. But what it does is it actually is equipped with a vacuum system, not like your standard vacuum cleaner. It is a significant piece of equipment that will actually dig up the area versus excavating with a large scale piece of equipment, which has high impact upon adjacent utilities. And it actually provides a better means of safely repairing your equipment and then causes less damages. However, it is picking up huge pieces. It'll pull a cinder block up into it if it had to. If it comes across it, you can squeeze up into it. So this is it has a lot of abrasion and all on its components. With that said, the useful life is typically figured on these things and many municipalities look at 7 years. And that they're looking, between 7 and 8 years, they're looking for a replacement prior to anything happening. So they take a lot of daily use, and we here in the town of Long Beach use it daily. Since it's been down, we've been having to rent another one and trying to stick with as little as possible, but we're finding that we, it's for the safety of the employees and the ability to work on these systems with a live system and do that safely, and to not impact other utilities, and that we've had to do that at $4,000 a week. And I believe I mentioned that to you some time ago. So what we've looked at is, yes, we can get this thing back. We had a $30,000 motor we put in it. At that time, the motor the piece of equipment was estimated to be valued at between $20,000 and $30,000. So we replaced the motor. And also we had to do the service to the vacuum system. And I believe that was $9,697. So, significant expenditure. And we still have a 10-year-old piece of equipment with multiple more components, including the vacuum system I just mentioned. At that point, we started looking into exactly what we could do as far as a replacement vehicle. It was perhaps newer. Right now, what we have is the opportunity to build a new vehicle. They've gone up like every other piece of equipment goes up significantly. That number is $449,579. And this one 10 years ago was $286,000 and change. Now you balance whether we can have a 10-year-old piece of equipment and pay this money in, we can get $90,000 in a trade-in after this expenditure. Which, that's increased by the expenditure, it's increased its market value by $20,302. So we were looking at a USDA loan, as you know, and you approve. The USDA loan has been submitted. It is the grant portion. It is actually a grant and loan. The grant portion would be $67,400. And the loan portion at, by the way, 2.125% for 10 years is that loan portion would be $382,179. With that said, there was a loan on the old piece of equipment, and that was at 4.25%. And that was for 15 years, which was challenging. So there's actually a balance remaining on it. $118,000, 287.96. What I'm suggesting is that we go for the new loan and we pay off the 287.96. Now, if we do the trade-in, that $90,000 would go back into those funds to keep our contingency available. Your annual payments, the first year payment would be $42,455 for a period of 10 years. The current annual, and keep in mind that it's used up 10 years, we're currently paying $23,988 this year with 5 years to go. So I've had a couple questions that I was hoping to clarify. Someone thought that the old truck was appraised by a third party or whatever, but the truck was appraised actually in 2 locations. We aren't paying any money to do this, but we've had the actual gentleman that runs Pine Hill, which he's pretty reputable around here, and he says he feels that the $90,000 is a fair trade-in value. I've also heard that if we were to, put it on Gov Deals, that is an option. I haven't seen any on there that are equivalent, but that we would be able to get between 90 and 110. So and of course we have to go up and get the vehicle and that type of stuff, but if we choose to do that, I think that we should take the 90,000 because we don't know. We can certainly pull it back here and drive it back and put it on Gov Deals, see what we get, see if we can put $110,000 on it, which I'm okay with that. But we have to keep in mind that whatever we have to do, we have to pay off that loan in order to get the title. Obviously, it'd be nicer if we get 115, but don't know. Either way, I'm recommending that you'll really consider allowing us to procure this new truck. Especially since we're getting the grant, and especially since we're getting the low interest rate. I do not anticipate this interest rate will stay there. We have, I believe it's going up. The bond market has already gone up. So long as we are able to get this thing to close by the end of the month, I think we can maintain the 2.125, but if we're not approved until after that, there's a possibility it can look a little bit beyond that. But contingent upon receiving the loan in a timely fashion, I would hope that we would be able to do something as far as procurements.
All right, Pal, go ahead. We'll start with you.
Rob, I just had a question. I know at one time you were talking about an 8-year loan, and now it's up to 10. What was the thinking behind going to 10 years instead of 8?
It's USDA.
USDA. And when USDA looked at it, and Lisa talked to her.
I can tell you what she told me. So when we first spoke to them, they did not realize we had other debt service in the sewer department. And so as she was reviewing the financial information that I gave her, she realized we did. So they put all that into their calculations and they couldn't offer us 8. The lowest they could go was 10. So she also told us that we can pay this loan off early if we want to. So if we have funds, we can put it toward the principal and we'll be no penalty to pay it off early. So if we wanted to make it 8-year, we can make it 8-year. We can budget to pay it in 8. But they just couldn't offer us 8 because based on the other debt service we had.
Mr. Manager?
You spoke about a trade-in value between 90 and 110. How do we realize that trade-in value?
First thing I did look on Gov Deals, and there's mostly old stuff, to see if they had anything compatible. There was nothing in there. Everything was much lower than $90,000, but it was older equipment too. We have I called Pine Hill to discuss that, and he works on these pieces of equipment, this type of equipment a lot. And he seemed to think that 90,000 was fair. Might we get more? We might.
If we list it on Gov Deals, can't we set a minimum bid? So if
We can do
don't get
that.
the 90, then
We can do
wouldn't
that.
sell it that way.
And then
It's an
we'll just pull it
option.
back here and put it on Gov Deals.
Right.
Drive it back here.
And just one thing about putting stuff on Gov Deals, you can put stuff on Gov Deals that can sit there for years
Correct.
and years and years. And just for this type of equipment and this big dollar amount on this equipment, I just don't think that we'd be able to sell it quick enough to do what we want to do with this, with this loan and everything and pay down that debt. If they're offering to let us trade in at 90, I think that's just, it's the better option.
Sure.
Robin?
Yeah.
Who's offering to give us the 90,000 trade-in? The people we're buying the new truck from?
Atlantic Machinery,
Okay, and so they have made us that offer?
yes,
Okay, so that's a firm.
yes. They're actually doing the vacuum system repair, and they're the manufacturer's representative in this area.
Okay.
Do you have any follow-up, Mike and Tom, from your meeting at Public Works about, because I think part of the discussion of this, obviously it's large purchase, but, the point of that was to go and see what equipment maintenance was being handled now, what the importance of that is, how those operations have changed in the last 3 months versus what was happening in the prior year, how the effects of that, on this piece of equipment and how that validates, honestly, where we're at right now. It just, sure, go ahead.
So when Tom and I went out there, the first thing we did is we asked to see what is the schedule of maintenance of the vehicles. Just a very simple question, like when are your vehicles scheduled for maintenance? Whether it be maintenance being sent into the manufacturer as part of the service agreement contract, or maintenance that they do on their own, be it lubricating and checking tires or changing tires, things that can be done by operator. They now have in place, I say they, the Public Works crew has in place, at least in paper form, a schedule of maintenance, semi-annual, annual type maintenances. That is all, as Tom talked to before, going to be put into CityWorks where it becomes fully automated. What they were able to produce for us immediately upon us asking was the expenditures for repair and maintenance of vehicles and equipment over since December. And it was a stack of papers, probably 10, 12, 15 pieces of equipment that money has been spent on. Asked to see what was spent the 6 months before that. And there was, I think, one piece of paper, one invoice. What we were led to believe, and what I gained from that is that previously there had not been an emphasis placed on maintaining equipment. And that's why we didn't spend anything. And that's why we have things that are broken. Now, there were some other extenuating mitigating circumstances surrounding the jet truck. And in fact, the operators involved with that are no longer employees of the city, of the town. So that piece of it, I'm comfortable with. And the fact that they are talking through drivers and operator training and certification programs now for people. Safety has become an issue. They run classes every Friday on safety and operations of equipment and maintenance of vehicles. They are putting in place what I believe and what Tom and I looked at to be a huge step forward in developing a full maintenance program for the equipment to the point where in the back, behind the buildings where they have the attachments to the Bobcats and all that, they're looking at trying to get pole barns built so they can get these things out of the weather. And they're just simple things that are now being paid attention to that hadn't been done in the previous time under the previous operations chief, operations director. So I came out of there fairly confident that when we make an investment in a piece of equipment, whether or not it's a jet truck or any other piece of equipment, that there is a sense of ownership or responsibility that didn't exist previously with the crew. So I personally feel comfortable and know that I can go down to Public Works like I did and go in and walk in the maintenance bay and see that things are being done. And I go back to, I have 30 years of experience of doing that. And so again, I feel with some degree of confidence that the right decisions and the right actions are being taken place for this procurement.
We're gonna set you up for like regular inspections.
I'd be happy to do
walk-in,
that.
Accident inspections. You think I'm kidding?
You don't think I get it?
I'm just kidding.
You should be aware that sometimes Mr. Haver mentioned that changing oil but sometimes you have to go to the manufacturer. Yeah, and you have to go to a professional, and especially with this piece of equipment, there are multiple systems in this thing. So be aware that incorporated into this, there will be costs related in the budgets related to it going to the manufacturer.
Absolutely. Your service agreements have got to be held to a high standard. And my concern with having somebody that is familiar with motor pool and maintenance operations in your team there, and having that guy be the go-to guy to replace the shocks on a truck or something, to me, I would see that as probably problematic. That individual's primary purpose and job should be what he does on a day-to-day basis, not an additional duty of replacing shocks or things like that, maintenance related. If maintenance is something that is going to become an important part of it, then that's something that Public Works has to look at in terms of their personnel and manning and the budget to find out. Now, there are service agreements to take care of everything, that's great, but I tend to get a sense that there's maintenance that needs to be done that's at a higher level than most of the folks are capable of performing in there, that maybe a maintenance crew person is somebody that's worthwhile looking into for the next ad. But that's just my initial opinion.
Yep.
Well, this really went in, two more things spurred out of the jet truck issue. One was following up on making sure equipment we have across the board was maintained. Part of that will be improved with the implementation of the City Works program, because we have asset management that also then flags when maintenance records, when regular maintenance needs to occur, has it been done, and saves that data and flags when you should be taking care of these things. But the other part of it was the budget part, right? And as we move into budget season and coming up here in April, and we're looking at the budget, that a lot of our major concerns and a lot of our priorities from that priority list are infrastructure and public works related. And that when we talk about where we're going to be investing those budget dollars at, very carefully, that public works is a place that, needs focus, because if we're going to fix the stormwater problems we have, if we're going to fix the water sewer issues, if we're going to prepare for the development that's happening, that is where it's got to go. And those are the things that I think are kind of at the forefront of the issues we're facing today. So, not that this is ideal scenario to have your jet truck now out of commission for, I don't know, it's been a couple of months, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is, a pretty big pressing issue, but it's highlighted these other points as we move into the conversation, and I think follow up on that is critical. Also, then, it kind of catalyzed POW into looking into our debt schedules and bond ratings, and we are also evaluating refinancing some of that debt at these lower interest rates. I mean, now is a great time to refinance, and many municipalities are taking advantage of that. And we need to be also prepared to put ourselves in a better financial position as interest rates have dropped so much. So, that's something that we're putting on the April work session, I think, and delve into, along with the budget, is also, positioning ourselves better in our debt ratios and bonding. Yes.
Well, if y'all haven't had a chance to review Powell's email on this about our debt service to revenue percentages, you need to. For example, my rough calculation is that if we make this loan for the jet truck, that we increase on a combined fund basis, our debt service to revenue percentage from 14 to 17%. Just this one item is a 3% jump. So we need to keep that in mind. What I'm hoping that we will do in the coming budget session is to come up with a bumper number on our debt to revenue percentages that will serve as national market. I don't know what that figure is. Or whether,
I would have to go back and look at everything. It's not something I know off the top of my head.
well, I mean, at some point it affects our credit rating, at some point it affects our bond rating, and we're going to need to know as much as we can where that line exists so that we don't go over it. So I think the lesson out of this is we need to be extremely careful on our borrowing.
I don't know if in your calculations, Mr. Montero, that, did you drop off the other loan when you did your calculations? Did you drop off the existing loan?
No, my qualification, it was rough configuring, okay?
Okay,
Yeah, 3% would be a lot. I think might not be that high once you drop off the other one. But yeah, it is significant and it needs to be looked at. And, you know, now's a good time for it, though. We're not in, just so that there's not some sort of public panic, we are not in a bad financial condition. We are not under any particular stipulations from the state. All of our ratings and, you know, they are now the state, as you pointed out, you know, how they go through and do these statewide evaluations of municipalities to find out which municipalities are failing financially to red flag it, because Petersburg basically hit the ground and they, you know, to try to prevent that. We're not in that situation. That's not, you know, we're not flagged as one of those municipalities. There certainly are several that are. We're not there. So but it is healthy for us to talk about our financial position and for us to assess our debt and also to reduce it.
We have not taken on any additional debt service in the last 2 years.
Right.
You know, so that was, you know, that was a great thing for us to do. So that kind of put us in a better position. It put us in a better position to deal with COVID itself because we didn't have any additional debt. We were able to have savings the year before. So, you know, things are being done. We're not just kind of like ignoring that, and now you're right. Now is the time to look at it again and see if we can take advantage of some of these good things that came out of COVID, like lower interest rates.
Yes. Okay. Do you need, do you want me to take a vote to continue to proceed?
yes, and you can make the vote to, if you care, you can make it contingent upon the loan grant.
Absolutely.
I feel that's an important piece.
We should know by next week, right?
We should know by the 22nd, I believe.
Whether we're approved.
Yes.
Okay.
So we are really.
I'd like to have a motion to, that contingent on the USDA, loan grant approval. I'm just writing this out. That we will proceed forward with the, payoff, purchase and replacement of the jet truck.
Question? I'll second that.
Okay, second, let's get, do I have a motion first?
Motion.
Motion approved, second?
Second.
Okay, so now we'll have discussion, yes.
Question, thank you. So, is there any out-of-pocket money that we have to spend? I'm thinking particularly to pay off the difference between the trade-in and the current loan, and where will that money come from?
It'll come from the two contingencies in wastewater and water.
We have the money there,
Okay.
if that's the question, yeah.
It'll be a net, I believe I had the net on here, of 28,287 if we get the 90,000. So that would be split back as we put, so both of them would actually be down $14,144.
We have to pay the debt off first to get the title in order to trade it
Correct.
in. So these things are gonna kind of happen quickly, so we can get, to get it accomplished. So our initial input is gonna be that 118. 118 has to be paid to get the title. And then when we make that purchase, we can trade it in at the same time, because we'll have the title.
And that comes out of the water
So that
and sewer
comes-
fund, and the money is there to do that
It's
with.
not water, it's wastewater and sewer.
Need water too.
Okay, yes, okay.
It's
Thank
split
you.
between the two accounts. The money is there, and then this ends up as a refinance of the existing loan that we have in both those budget line items.
Right.
And the reason it's split between the two is that hydro excavation that I mentioned before. We have water main breaks and water leaks and things like that we're doing live. We utilize that piece of equipment.
And if we don't move forward, we're still paying to lease this piece of equipment for $4,000 a week.
Right, save that.
Is there any more discussion? No? Mr. Duggan? Mr. Montier? Mr. Robertson?
Aye.
Ms. O'Sullivan?
Aye.
Mr. Allison?
Aye.
Mr. Gabriel?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Excellent. Okay, next up is closed meeting. I can't wait till we're done with these. All right, is there a motion to go into closed meeting pursuant to Virginia Code 2.233711A8 for consultation with legal counsel employing regarding specific matters requiring legal advice from counsel for development and real estate agreement contract analysis? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Sullivan?
Aye.
Allison?
Aye.
Avery?
Aye.
Val?
Aye.
Aye.
And Chair votes aye. Okay, can we eat while we're in closed session?